Jalen was very sharp. But 7-on-7s are designed to have success. I explained that last week for the offense, and he did. And he was certainly more ahead chemistry-wise with Devontae Smith than A.J. Brown, which is understandable. Um, hit Devontae Smith twice on deep balls, so that was exciting.
And a good Monday morning, Eagles fans. Hopefully you had a great weekend. Only a regular weekend, not a holiday weekend. Sorry about that. Back to work here on Monday. And that is the case for your Mac and Mac guys here on Birds 365, McMullen and McDonald. J Mac, I'd ask how your weekend was, but I already know your wife put you to work. Not good.
Yeah, not good. Not good at my age, Jody. She's got me doing heavy construction work. I need yellow tape to block off stuff. So
not good at all. But glad you got through it. Glad you're here with me this morning. And man, do we have a lot to sink our teeth into. New Eagles organizational structure announced on a Friday.
Of course.
Thank you again, Eagles, for doing so. So we can't talk about it all weekend. A lot more lists and guys coming out with rankings and ratings that I do want to get your take on. But most importantly is you got your chance to check out the Eagles on the field on Friday, the end of, I guess it's phase 4. And we've got phase 5 yet to come. I get my phases confused.
Yeah, no, we're in phase 3. There's only 3 phases. So phase 3 ends this week. And then you have the little lull before training camp in late July. So that's the one area on the calendar where it gets a little bit tougher for Jody Mac and Johnny Mac.
So they don't separate these 2 weeks. It's all part of phase 3.
No, all part of phase 3. The on-field work is all part of phase 3 as it goes. It's interesting because the Eagles, I think 13 is the number you can have of on-field sort of practices, whatever you want to call them. Sessions. Thank you. And they're doing 6, and there's some talk that, that the trend around the league is you cancel the final one, sort of like the last day of school, and you try to make everybody happy. You do this team building thing, whether you go bowling or you do something, throw axes. Everybody likes to throw axes now, something like that, and the Eagles are doing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week. So there's some reporters are going to be let in depending on the last day, if it's Wednesday or if it's Tuesday. And I'm like, wow, even when scaling back from 13, they're still thinking about canceling the last day. So it is kind of what it is, but we'll see how it shakes out. Yeah, I don't know. Where I think we're on the same page there. I mean, there's look, I get you got to evolve, and we'll talk about that with the front office as well. But I mean, you got to practice at some point, unless it becomes all mental. And then why don't we just play a video game?
I'll believe that less is more is good in some things. I'm not sure that prepping for an NFL season is one of them, but that's the way the Eagles have gone. And you might not even get 3 sessions this week. We'll see if that works out. Any leanings, any beliefs that what day you are going to get in? I certainly want to talk about what you saw on Friday for the less than an hour you were there.
I was there for a long time, but we were on the field for only an hour.
Right. That's what I meant. Thank you for clarifying. If they do cancel the 3rd of the 3 this week, that means Tuesday is most likely. You're not going today. We've already surpassed that, right?
Yeah, it's
so you're good. You're expecting to get the email or the text today that tomorrow is a media day for you guys.
Yeah, sometime today, or we don't get one, it'll be Wednesday. I find it hard to, but I'm banking on Wednesday just because I find it hard to believe they'll cancel they barely do anything as it is. So what's the point? They've already gone bowling. We've seen the pictures. I mean, what's the point? You've already done that stuff. I mean, get an extra day in, but we'll see. I mean,
Yeah, it's
yeah, there's
extra
so
day as
much.
compared to getting out after only 5 of 13 potential practice days. That'll go a long way in winning over the players. How about actually doing some work? That's just me. All right. When you did get the chance to spend your quality hour, yes, you might have been there significantly longer, but you only got to watch about 50 minutes of workout time that the Eagles got in. What jumped out at you, Johnny Mac?
Well, on the field, not much. I guess the best indication, obviously, they just went 7-on-7s. Jalen was very sharp, but 7-on-7s are designed to have success. I explained that last week for the offense, and he did. And he was certainly more ahead chemistry wise with Devontae Smith than AJ Brown, which is understandable. Um, hit hit Devontae Smith twice on deep balls, so that was exciting. And then, yeah, to me, the bigger impact, because there were a lot of receivers weren't there. Jalen Rager wasn't there. Um, I know Jeff Gladney's family had some kind of service, so I assume he was there. Um, Zach Pascal wasn't there for some reason, and Quez Watkins wasn't there. So all of those. So you didn't get a good feel for how they're going to rotate the receivers, but the defense, the majority of the back 7 players were there, so you got a more of a feel for it, and obviously you knew the starters. Um, with the exception of linebacker. And I kind of said last week, they're not going to start with Nakobe Dean. They're going to make him work his way up. And sure enough, they started with TJ and Kaiser White. And then it was Davion Taylor and Christian Ellis, and Nakobe Dean was on the third team with the rookies. So that makes sense. That's just about, making a young player work his way up the depth chart. You can't just put them on the field. Um, and then the backup corners were interesting to me because we heard so much about them, but then they brought in Bradbury. And obviously the starters are solidified with him and Slay and Avante Maddox. So it was Zach McPherson on the outside. Mac McCain, though, Mac and Mac McCain, he got the first rep on the outside as a backup alongside Zach McPherson over Tay Gowan and Kerry Benson. So that's the kind of stuff that we talk about on Birds 365 that they're probably not going to talk about because it's arcane, but it was interesting to me. Josiah Scott was the backup nickel, which was not a surprise. Safeties, it was Epsy, obviously, and Anthony Harris, and then you have Kayvon Wallace and Andre Sacheret were the backups, and then Jared Maiden. But Maiden was the guy who stood out the most. Now, granted, he was working on the third team against the third team, Carson Strongs of the world and Britton Kobe's of the world at wide receiver, and it's 7-on-7, but he just looks more physical than the rest of them. Like, he just looks like he wants to hit somebody, and he's not allowed to. And he looks like a real safety. I only put that out there because they need a safety. They need a safety as a bare minimum backup. I still think they're going to bring one in at some point, to be honest. I don't know who, I don't know where, I don't know when, but I can't see them going into a season with Kayvon Wallace and Andre Sacheret as their backup safeties. And maybe that opens a door for somebody like Jared Maven, who is a real safety. He played at Alabama, so he's not some, I talked about Reed Blankenship as an undrafted free agent from Middle Tennessee State. I mean, this kid played at Alabama, so who knows? But it's one of those positions where there's an obvious need. And day one, he kind of showed up. And on the offense, of the lesser known players that showed up would be Deion Kane, a big wide receiver. And he had a bigger opportunity because, as I said, Zach Pascal wasn't there, Quez Watkins, Jalen Rager. So he got more reps than he probably would have gotten, and he showed up. He showed up with them, and he brings, he brings something similar to, obviously nobody's as big as AJ, but he brings that size to the position as well. So maybe just put a check mark next to his name if somebody's going to push for a fifth or sixth wide receiver spot.
Nice to be able to just see the Eagles out there on the field, as limited as it may be, but get a feel for guys and where the Eagles are at. And yes, depth charts are fluid and can change, but you got to start somewhere. And Eagles did with the practice that you guys were allowed to jump into the other day. I thought maybe the most interesting thing that was discussed over the weekend, John, was Shane Steichen.
Yeah.
Eagles offensive coordinator that we knew when Nick Sirianni put his
And I
staff
love
together.
it. You know me, Jody. I love it.
Okay, then describe to me how and why you love it.
Well, I like CEO coaches. I don't like
That's true.
I never understood
you're
it.
well on the record with that.
I have never understood getting bogged down with one aspect of the game. Well, I do understand it because that's what the NFL has turned into. Really, there's co-head coaches in most cities. But one guy has the designation. We talk about titles. We'll talk about that too with the front office. There's these designations. And I always go to Sean McVay in his first year. And obviously Sean McVay is the flavor of the month, so to speak, flavor of the years now in the NFL. Everybody's looking for the next Sean McVay, the next Sean McVay. When he was a rookie, you can go back and watch the games, go on Game Pass. When the Rams still had Wade Phillips, and bless you, when the Rams still had Wade Phillips, he's one of the best defensive coordinators ever. And by the way, he's going to be coaching in the XFL next year. Wade's going to come back, but Sean McVay used to go sit on the bench with Jared Goff pretty much and not even pay attention to the defensive side of the football. It was Wade Phillips, and by the way, it should have been. I mean, nobody's going to question Wade's competency or anything of that nature. But it always struck me as, most coaches at least pay lip service to paying attention to the other side of the ball. And there's certain coaches who are CEO coaches that have been very successful. And there's also examples of, the Clapper in Dallas, Jason Garrett, But the difference, and people brought up Jason Garrett to me a couple times when I say I like this. Yeah, I mean, it didn't work out with Jason Garrett, but I think people forget play calling was stripped from him by Jerry Jones. He said, you have to give this up. I believe it was Scott Linehan at the time. and he ordered him to give it up. And that's different. Now, if someone, and there's been no evidence to this, and I've asked, if someone has proof that Howie Roseman stripped Nick Sirianni of play calling because the Eagles were so bad in the first 7 games of really first 6 of last season, all right, then I'll tell you this is a bad move. I get all indications this was Nick's decision, and he just felt he wanted, number one, he wanted to oversee the entire team. Number 2, it was convoluted to begin with because the original plan was Nick would call the play, relay it to Shane Steichen, who would then give it into, which to me, and from day one we heard that, and I wasn't the only one. There were a couple other reporters that, what the hell is, yeah, you're raising your hand, Jody. I mean, that made no sense to me, other than he wanted the same voice in Jalen Hurts' ears. And then Nick explained this last year, and Shane kind of confirmed it on Friday. The game planning during the week, everything's pretty much structured. That's what you do. You have everything set up. You have your openers, you have your third down package, your red zone package. Everything's on the call sheet. So it's a matter of, you've already done the work during the week. So it's a guy sort of pulling the trigger, and that's going to be Shane Steichen. And he made sure to say that, if Nick wants something called in a certain situation, he tells him and he calls it.
Right.
I think personally, that's the better way to do things. I've always thought that way. I've always thought if you're the head coach, be the head coach. You got to coach the defense. If Jonathan Gannon's doing something you don't like, you got to be able to toggle, go over there and say, look, we got to get more aggressive. We got to do this. We got to do that. Michael Clay's not doing something you like. You gotta be able to move and do that. Otherwise, you're just a glorified offensive coordinator. And I think it's a positive that Nick Sirianni is turning into a CEO head coach, but that's just me.
No, and for the most part, I agree with you. If Steichen is up to the duty, and they kept it pretty well under wraps that he was not the majority of the play call, but almost the lone play caller for the second half of the season, which was a pretty effective, as much as it was run based, it was effective offensive half a season of football. If that's the case, we'll see if he can pick up right where he left off with changes, with throwing the football more. I'm willing to give Shane Steichen every single benefit of the doubt, and apparently Nick Sirianni is too, if this makes him into a CEO, as you like to call it, head coach. All right, plenty Eagle stuff to discuss. John and I will be doing it for the next hour and change, and we'll have two good helping hands. As a matter of fact, our buddy Martin Frank from the Delaware News Journal is going to join us coming up in just a couple of minutes. A little later, Chris Landry, ex-NFL coach and scout from LandryFootball.com, is going to jump aboard too. It is a Monday get-together, start of a new week. We're getting that much closer. We're down to double-digit days, John. Only 97 days till the first Sunday of Eagles football. We continue
creeping up on us. We're a month away from training camp, more than a month, but it's June and next month is July, Jody. So if you look at it that way, maybe it'll get here a little bit closer.
The only thing going faster than the arrival of football season is Eagles practice, because you're blinking, they're over and done with. But we are the Mac and Mac guys, John McMullen, Jody McDonald, joined by Martin Frank next here on Birds 365.